Hello, everyone. Now, due to me debunking this guy 2 times in the past, a lot of people are just spamming me every time he makes like a bad hate video to debunk him. I wasn't going to do this one originally, but when I started analyzing all of Boruto's characters, those videos will be dropping in the future. That's why I haven't been uploading as much as I did previously. But I wasn't going to do that until I started writing a Eida script, and I was going to analyze her character, see if she's a good character, basically give you a narrative analysis, a good old fashioned. So I kind of want to see a hater's POV or see if he actually makes any valid points for once. I'm not really expecting much, but I will give a mild trigger warning. He has weird fan art that my fans have pointed out to me in the past that kind of bleep on screen. They're too quick to really blur out, so I'm not going to blur them.
If she were to awaken the Mangekyo purely out of love, then she would awaken the Mangekyo the first time Boruto bangs her. Not when Boruto's life's in danger, when Daddy, please, don't kill Boruto. Don't kill him, please. You have to believe me, please.
But if you are someone who's easily triggered by these underage children being in weird sexualized fan art, that is a minor trigger warning. He also kind of overplays into his weird fantasies about Sarada and Boruto. Hopefully that doesn't happen in this video again. That's another trigger warning. Don't spam my comments with it like y'all did last time, or send any clips. I'm not really interested in canceling this guy or making like a hate wave to go after him. He can be weird on his own. Don't really care. We're just gonna be talking about the actual facts within this video. With that being said, let's get into it.
So part 1 is done, and we're waiting for part 2 after the time skip. I think it's time for us to talk about one of the most baffling characters the Boruto series has introduced into the Naruto universe, and that would be Eida. This character is an abomination for many different reasons, and I hope to tackle all of them in this video. So whenever you make a character, there are usually two things you would want to accomplish when you introduce that character into your story. One, you want to develop that character because you think it will provide you with good moments, themes, and interesting character arcs in the series, and two, the character will further the plot and be useful for the story, using the character as a tool to tell the story you want. Ideally, you will achieve both those things with any given character you introduce. Now, of course, there are characters that will do one thing more than the other, but it's good to strike a balance. Eida is almost exclusively a plot device character. She is meant to do the plot twist, and that's her reason for existing in the story. But don't worry, I'll get to the board.
Now, before he gets into his reasons for this, because they may very well be valid, I'm kind of interested if he's gonna go the way of saying that Eida hasn't been developed as far as her first chapter since then, or that he just doesn't like her development. He did originally just say that she had none and she was almost just a plot device, so keep that in mind.
To plot twist later in the video. First, we have to start off with the first amazingly huge red flag we see for this character, which are her abilities. Now, she has three main abilities. She can see any events anywhere in the world at any given time, so long that happened after she was born, so she can essentially see everything that's happening in the world and deliver exposition. It's one of her functions in the story. Her other power is to charm anybody that sees her, and so they are unable to harm her or do anything against her. And the third power is the most ridiculous one, but I'll get to that one when I get to the plot twist. Now, being able to see any event at any given time is a bit ridiculous, but I could see a powerful dojutsu or another type of jutsu doing this. And yes, it's a very lazy way to get exposition done and to deliver informations to the main characters, but yeah, sure.
I kind of have an issue with what he just said. It's not a lazy way to deliver information to the characters, because a literal way that we had in the original Naruto's work is Black Zetsu and the stone tablets from the Uchiha that were written by people that they thought were just decades ago. He basically lied on the tablets and made Madara and Obito think all of these weird things about Kaguya and how chakra and the god tree worked and all the tailed beasts and the eye on the moon plan, when in reality, it was basically him tricking them the entire time. And it made for a big plot twist at the end of Shippuden, because we learned that everything was a lie, and this one character who was just alive through this entire time period was giving us all of this false information. It's basically the same thing. One character who's been there forever is giving us the information, and one character who can see everything is giving us the information. Both of these characters can see or have saw everything, and they give information. If you don't have a problem with it in Naruto, you shouldn't have a problem with it in Boruto.
Go ahead, go, it's fine. It's not the main issue here. The second ability, the power to charm anybody so that they cannot attack her, is far more ridiculous. The only weakness to that jutsu is that Otsutsukis are immune to it. So essentially, in this time...
Well, that's not the only weakness. The only weakness is Otsutsuki's blood relatives, and we will find out why Sumire and Sarada are weak to it. I don't know why you didn't mention that part of the ability's weakness, so it's not completely unavoidable. The main character can avoid it, the other main character can avoid it, and the biggest supporting side character can avoid it. We don't know why they can, but the jutsu clearly has other weaknesses that simply just hasn't been uncovered yet. I don't know why you didn't mention that in. I guess this is to just paint an agenda.
Time in the story, only Boruto and Kawaki are not affected by the charm. Some people seem to be a bit more resistant than the average, like Sarada and Sumire, but for most people this ability works.
They're not even resistant, they're just outright negating the ability. They're not affected whatsoever. Just like Boruto and Kawaki. You just lied for no reason.
Fine, and Eida is essentially invulnerable. And yeah, this is a completely busted ability and not very creative. There's a difference between a nice, powerful ability and just a very lazy one. For example, Kamui was an extremely overpowered ability in Naruto Shippuden, but it was very interesting to see battles with it and Obito using it, or even Kakashi when he had it.
Well, see, I'm glad he pointed that out specifically, that it was very interesting to see battles with it. Well, think about Ida's character, and the entire point of her is that she is not a fighter. She has a simple, down-to-earth goal that since birth has been affected, and it's explained why she thinks this way and acts this way, so she's not a fighter. We won't ever have to see her do a big final battle like Obito and Kakashi or Obito versus Naruto. So it's not going to be broken like that whatsoever. It's not going to completely trivialize the story because she doesn't fight anybody. All she does is protect herself and want to get to her goal. Damon does the fighting for a reason, because his fights are exciting. He doesn't have an ability that you just can't hurt him. He's just quick, fast, powerful, and if he touches you, he has a broken ability. Simple as that. They removed her from the fighting in the story for that very reason. It's almost like the author knew that.
Phasing through things is extremely powerful, but there were ways to counter it. There were strategies you could employ to tag and even harm Obito when he was phasing through.
And also, we do see a strategy employed to kind of bypass this ability, that you don't necessarily hurt her, but you can still kind of bind her. When Shikamaru uses the shadow paralysis jutsu, and she really can't do anything because the
Obito fights. When Minato uses the Flying Thunder God to tag him at the exact moment she'll materialize, when Kakashi was using his Kamui to tag Obito and then he manages to Kamui Naruto into the Kamui dimension when Obito thought he'd destroy the Shadow Clone, it was all great stuff. But then with Eida's ability to charm everybody, it's not engaging because nobody can attack her. The attacks are completely useless unless you're no Tsutsuki. There's no strategy, there are no
Yes, there's no strategy because she's not a fighter. You don't have to fight her. And Shikamaru literally employed a strategy to get rid of Eida. He used shadow paralysis. You're outright just ignoring what the manga has shown us, just to paint this false narrative that, oh, she's bad because you can't attack her. Sarada can, Sumire can, Boruto can, Kawaki can. Code is soon to be able to because he's trying to become a full Otsutsuki. So all of what you're saying by the most important people in the show can either be bypassed or dealt with through strategy. It's simple as that.
further layers to the ability. It's just a stupid ability that works when it can and it doesn't when it cannot, and it's very arbitrary.
That had to be the most redundant sentence I've ever heard. It works when it can, and when it cannot, it doesn't. Like you basically said nothing. Of course, an ability works when it works. Of course, an ability doesn't work when it doesn't work. And again, you're ignoring what happened in the manga and the explanations that we were given.
arbitrary. Because the Otsutsukis are immune to it because it's Shinjutsu, and the Otsutsukis are gods. They're the gods of Shinjutsu, so yeah, they can't attack her. This ability by itself is already really bad, but the worst thing is that these abilities, and now I'm including the first one, the one she can peer through any event ever, they are passive abilities.
She can't, you literally said at the beginning of the video, it was until her birth. So basically, after her birth, that's the only time she can see these events. So you saying she can peer into every event ever is just wrong. You just literally contradicted yourself. You contradicted one of your main gripes. You're just wanking off your gripes at this point to make a 21-minute long hate video. It's not that deep.
Now, this is completely insane. These abilities are active 24/7, and it's very much implied that they don't spend any chakra. Eida just keeps on using them. It's around her every time, so nobody can even attack her. This breaks.
Well, no, the passive omnipotence ability, yes, that's on 100% of the time, but that's more of like a non-direct, just like the quote you just put up on screen. It's non-direct and not really a harmful ability. To see into all of the events and become omniscient, she has to activate her dojutsu. So no, those aren't active for 100% of the time. Only one non-offensive one is, which quite literally just only protects her from harm. If it only protects a non-fighter from harm, who's not really doing anything to the main character, she has her own goal, completely disconnected from the main characters, it doesn't really affect the story that much.
The entire verse. Characters are supposed to have limitations. More powerful characters are naturally going to have more chakra, but having infinite chakra so much so that
you quite literally assume this ability took chakra, then just ran with it. And if she does have limits, you stated her limits at the beginning of the video. Otsutsuki's, Sarada, Sumire, and a blood relative. Those are the limits to the abilities. You're just going on a mindless rant contradicting yourself over and over.
your godlike ability is always active is completely stupid. It would be the same thing if Kamui was always active and Obito could face through everything.
Well, Kamui in the data books is stated to be passive. Kamui actually doesn't even take his brain activating it to be active. It's activated unconsciously. That's stated within the Naruto data books. So one of your gripes with Eida's ability, that it's unconscious and passive, is also present within Kamui. So again, you're contradicting yourself.
And even punch through things as well when he was phasing through other things. Like, there were weaknesses to Kamui, interesting weaknesses to exploit, but here, there's nothing. There's no cooldown, there's no time limit, it's infinite. And of course, the only two characters that are able to do anything about it are gonna be Kawaki and Boruto.
No, Kawaki, Boruto, soon to be Code, Damon, Sumire, Sarada, and anyone with a non-offensive attack that somehow just affects Eida, such as the shadow paralysis or possibly collateral damage too. There's a lot of ways to bypass Eida's ability. You just are blatantly ignoring them.
The only two characters the story seems to be interested in doing something with, which is unfortunate because they're both bad. And what makes Eida even weirder is the fact that she was created in a lab. Essentially, this godlike being that has infinite chakra, two abilities that are passive and that work all the time, that are completely overpowered. She was created in a lab because
well, no, she was more or less tinkered with within a lab. It's stated that she got Shibai's DNA from Amato, but she also has organic organs such as a heartbeat. Her and Damon are blood relatives. Her abilities don't work on blood relatives, so she was a human. She just got tinkered with by Amato. So again, you just didn't read the manga.
Amado apparently had genes from the Otsutsuki god. Now, if you don't think this is silly, in the Naruto story, then you probably didn't read or watch Naruto and you started off with Boruto. Because even in the arc, when power levels were getting pretty high, things still had internal consistency. It made sense why those characters were achieving such high power levels, but now, it was created in a lab, and because the
well, regardless of me just debunking the created in the lab lie that you just told, it does make sense. This guy, who is very sus and very in tune with Otsutsuki's, he's met and been under the strongest one thus far in the series. found the Otsutsuki guy's body who landed on Earth, possibly from Ishiki, possibly with his own knowledge. The manga is only 80 chapters so far. We don't know yet. So you can't really comment on things you don't know. The only reason you know that in Naruto is because it's a completed manga. So yes, it makes a lot of sense. He has these DNA. He implanted this within a child or a teenage girl, and she got superhuman powers. Simple as that. Kind of like Hashirama cells. You ever heard of those in Naruto? They implant Hashirama cells in people. They become super powerful. Scientific ninja tools at the beginning of Boruto. They implant those in people. They become super powerful. It's almost too consistent.
Scientist that apparently is a character now, even though Orochimaru was a scientist for much longer, implied to be much smarter than anybody else. He's never achieved that. But Amato, no, he got Otsutsu.
You just lied. We don't know how long Amato was a scientist. He also goes down very different works than Orochimaru. Orochimaru's character was completed and fulfilled within the original Naruto work. Almost the only thing that they have in common is that they're both scientists. You're just mad that one is more important in a sequel. Orochimaru's stunned. His story is completed. It's done. I don't even see how this one is a gripe. This one more or less seems that you're pissy that Orochimaru is no longer important. I mean, stick to part one.
Tsuki genes, and now Eida is this godlike being with infinite chakra. Nobody can touch her.
And you're still just putting out that she has infinite chakra that's nowhere stated, not even implied at all.
Eida's entire character is derived from her ability to charm people. Because she has this charm, and therefore anybody that sees her will love her by default, she wants to find somebody that will love her for who she is, and not because of the jutsu. In her eyes, everybody's love is fake to her except for those that are Otsutsukis. Those are the ones that can actually give her genuine love. And so she goes after Kawaki and Boruto, but she's not interested in Boruto. She's much more into Kawaki. Her entire character...
Okay, this one is just me being a dick, but I find it funny how he said she's interested in Boruto and Kawaki, but she's not interested in Boruto. But come on now. That was just funny.
Surrounds Kawaki as well because of that. Her goal is to make Kawaki love her because she will know his love will be actual love. Now, the way they go about writing this is just kind of pathetic. She's a lady, she needs a guy, she needs love because she needs connections and what.
That was the trigger warning. I'm sorry.
Not. It could have been much more interesting if she was not after Kawaki for romantic reasons, but because she wanted to relate to somebody. The manga panels...
Okay, if her entire point is that this godlike passive jutsu that has burdened her since she's been able to remember has made everyone not have genuine feelings for her, and she actually wants to be a normal teenage girl and experience love, why wouldn't she go for the only person who can fulfill that request romantically? Humans by nature want to be loved and want to love people back. So she's just acting like a teenage girl. You're basically saying, why is this teenage girl being a teenage girl? I mean, don't read a manga with teenagers in it if you don't want them to act like teenagers. Simple as that. She has to be the most down-to-earth character in the manga. Simple goal, burdened with this horrible jutsu since birth. Classic. The narrative is perfectly fine.
Where she declares her love for Kawaki, saying that Kawaki is her goal because she's so cute, are very cringe. That's the only word I can find to describe them, sorry. And they don't really develop Eida's character at all. She is still a lapdog for Kawaki. She does everything Kawaki wants to. She protects Kawaki. She is essentially a slave to Kawaki. Maybe she'll develop further into part 2 of Boruto, who knows, but in part 1 she was the Kawaki's lapdog, and she was there just for the plot twist to happen. And speaking of the plot twist,
You just gave so many different reasons that she was there, just to at the end say she was only there for the plot twist. This video should just be named, I contradict myself for 20 minutes. That's all it's been.
Talk about it. So, in the end of Boruto Part 1, Kawaki uses Eida to rewrite the memories of every single being on the planet For them to think that Kawaki was Naruto-san all along and Boruto was the guy that came to the village. They're essentially swapping places in the minds of everybody, except for Sarada and Sumire. They are unaffected. Kawaki is doing this because he wants to kill Boruto because Momoshiki lives inside of Boruto, and Kawaki wants to kill every Otsutsuki so that Naruto is safe because the Otsutsukis will not kill him because Kawaki loves Naruto because of what he did to him. Eida achieves that by using her third power, Omnipotence. Now, when a character has a power called Omnipotence, you get a feeling that things are gonna be.
Now, before he goes on another baseless rant, I would like to point out again how he didn't read the manga, because this isn't a third ability. This is the same as her charm ability. She just didn't know about it. Momoshiki just gave us the real truth of her charm ability. It is simply omnipotence. Literally reading one chapter would give you the answer to that you just posed. She has two abilities, omnipotence and the Senryagon. And she can't even control omnipotence. She does all of this by reacting to Kawaki's desire, almost unconsciously. She's almost confused after it happens. Kawaki literally has to choke her out and cover her mouth so she doesn't rat on him, because she is confused by something that she did without knowing it. She can't control this power. That's also stated within the one chapter that you would get the reason of her charm ability. Simply read the manga.
Pretty weird already. Eida's third power can rewrite the memories and essentially the thoughts of everybody on the planet. In a planetary scale? It's not one person affected by genjutsu like Hodo Matsukami. No, it's every single being on the planet with a few exceptions. Now, the entire fandom loves Shisui because he has one very powerful genjutsu, Kodo Matsukami, that can essentially do something similar, rewriting the thoughts and memories and intentions of people. Eida can do that by essentially snapping her fingers at everybody in the world's.
No, reading that one chapter again would show you that she can't do this on her own. And yeah, people love Shisui because he has Kodo and Matsukami. People also love Madara for the infinite Tsukiyomi. People also love the infinite Tsukiyomi's genjutsu. It's just a broken ability. People like cool things. People like Toneri because he can split the moon and throw the moon at the planet with enough force to destroy it. People think Kagi is pretty cool sometimes when she can just destroy entire time spaces. That made the power scaling community go wild.
Under the effect of the thing. Now, she is not conscious about her actions. It's Kawaki's will.
So, you say she can do this at the snap of her fingers. Then in the next sentence say she is not conscious and she does this due to Kawaki's will. Yet another contradiction. Someone keep tally in the comments about how many times the contradiction happens within this guy's video.
Affecting her that prompts omnipotence to activate, but regardless, it's a stupid jutsu. Obviously, it only.
Oh, jutsu makes sense. Jutsu goes against the lies that I told in my video, but it's stupid.
Exists for this plot twist to happen, and the authors couldn't think of a more clever way to do it. They couldn't even set it up properly. And people were gonna say, no, it was foreshadowed. It was foreshadowed by the prophecy of Momoshiki when he said to Boruto time and time again, oh, those blue eyes will take everything away from you. Who are the blue eyes from? Are they Boruto's eyes? Are they Naruto's eyes? Turns out they were Eida's eyes, because Eida has blue eyes and omnipotence was used through her eyes, so they took everything away from Boruto. That was the prophecy. Woohoo! Well, let me tell you this, and I think this should be very obvious. Just because you foreshadow something, it doesn't mean it's gonna be good.
Yeah, foreshadowing alone does not make something good. But when your whole gripe in the video is that, oh, it doesn't make sense, oh, it's stupid. For something to be stupid, has to be illogical, either don't make sense, or just feel out of nowhere. This has been foreshadowed, so it's not out of nowhere. This also makes sense of how the jutsu works, and in one of the chapters leading up to the omnipotence big plot twist, we see the quote being repeated, those blue eyes shall take everything away from you, and we see a panel of Eida sitting on the bed, so it makes sense, it's not out of nowhere, and it's perfectly logical. So yeah, foreshadowing alone does not make something good, But foreshadowing alone and it making sense and having been explained within the verse goes against the entire point you were trying to make.
This girl, she was born with this power because Amado used the cells or the DNA or whatever he had from Shibai Otsutsuki, the god of the universe, essentially. And she just has this power. Just hanging around there, she can essentially alter the memories of every single person on the planet. Not much effort involved. She doesn't even...
You literally in the video said she had to do it with Kawaki's desire and she was unconscious. And you continuously revert to she can do this willy-nilly, snap of the fingers, nothing. Like, bro, come on. At least be generous to your own words. At least be consistent within yourself.
Even have to spend all her chakra. Sure, she seems a little bit more tired than nothing at all whenever she uses the charm and the all-seeing ability. But for a jutsu that affects everyone so deeply on the planet, well, she seems pretty okay to me. The only time
She literally passed out. Literally.
we ever see a jutsu of that scale is when Madara Uchiha casts the Infinite Tsukiyomi upon the world. Now, the Infinite Tsukiyomi...
So the only time we see a jutsu on that scale is when someone's trying to become like an Otsutsuki. So someone with the strongest Otsutsuki's DNA should be able to replicate it, right? Crazy.
is even stronger than this jutsu because it puts every single person on the planet under a very powerful illusion, while Eida's ability just alters their thoughts. But both of them on the same scale. So now you're probably saying, well, see, you're not talking about the Infinite Tsukiyomi just because you like Madara, and now you're saying Eida's is bad, and the Infinite Tsukiyomi was even more powerful. Okay, but how hard was it for Madara to achieve the Infinite Tsukiyomi? How much effort did it take for him to cast a jutsu, finally, and put everybody under the...
Okay, if you're talking about like all of the stuff of him gaining the power leading up to it, cool, yeah, it was much harder than Eida's. But if you're talking about just casting the jutsu, he simply floated up to the moon and reflected his eye on top of it. She didn't have to do that because her circumstances are completely different. You can't expect different circumstantial situations to have the same runtime. Like we there's no way you expected Eida to have a rival, be a reincarnation of the Sage of his past son, go through all of that, die, put his will onto a child, go through an entire war being reanimated just to come back to life truly, and then absorb every tail beast. There's just no way you expected that. Hers make perfect sense within her character. His made perfect sense within his character. Simple. Two different characters. Two different conclusions. Two different jutsus. Two different shows.
illusion. Let's backtrack a little bit and go over what Madara had to do. First, he had to fight against the Senju clan during the Warring State.
Wow, I didn't even have to mention all he did. He did it in the video. Okay, thank you.
Period. His body...
Even though I basically attacked this like 2 minutes ago, just something to add to the explanation I gave for what he's soon to be explaining. Madara had someone who knew his plan, actively going against him, who knew exactly what he was going to do. Eida did this subconsciously, did not know what it was going to happen, literally apologized, showing again she didn't know what was going to happen, and was acting on some newly found desires from Kawaki. Completely different.
It was too frail, he had waited for too long, the Rinnegan took too long to awaken. So he used the powers of the Rinnegan to summon the Geromazu and...
I'm just going to save you guys time. I'm going to skip over the entire Madara thing while I'm editing. So, yeah. If you see a big change in the video, just know he attempted to explain what Madara did the entire show in like 5 minutes. Kind of failed, but it's okay. You're not going to have to hear it.
Now let's contrast this to Eida's omnipotence jutsu. Momoshiki tells us the prophecy that the blue eyes are going to take everything away from Boruto. We also are told that Eida probably has an ability she wasn't showing, and that happened to be omnipotence. Now this is as far as it goes for foreshadowing the thing. Eida arrives at the Leaf Village because she was fed up with Code, and then they lock her up in a house.
Well, no. That's not as far as it goes with foreshadowing, because the entire point of Eida doing that and all of the foreshadowing that was there truly was not only Momoshiki mentioning it at the beginning, but it was rid of Sasuke's Rinnegan and putting the puzzle pieces in place so that Eida can accomplish this. Even making Kawaki leave the hands of the leaf, like when possessed by the shadow paralysis video. I mean, not video. When he was possessed by the shadow paralysis jutsu, and Mitsuki kind of wrapped his arm around Kawaki's hand as well, and Momoshiki absorbed it and caused him to shrink away and escape. Momoshiki was basically furthering the plot alongside Eida. He's the reason that happened. And given he was the one who originally foreshadowed it, like you said, within chapter 9 or 8, I believe, it makes perfect sense.
Surveilled by the entire squadron of Anbu members, and then they put Boruto and Kawaki in there because they're the ones that are not affected by her charm jutsu. They have some very bad interactions with Eida and Sarada and Sumire in the bed there. I thought I was reading some very bad shoujo manga. Turns out it was Boruto. Then Kawaki tries to kill Boruto.
There's no way you attempted to put some romantic, weird, sexualized implications within that scene. Literally nothing was happening, but they were talking about their inner plan with Sumire and Sarada, and Eida was just explaining herself. That is some crazy things to say about a non-sexual scene between a bunch of teenage girls. That was just weird.
Boruto because he's like, I'm not gonna let you kill the 7th Hokage, I'm gonna kill you again, Boruto. Kawaki escapes the house. Eida also escapes because nobody can stop her. Her jutsu is essentially, busted. Then she finds Kawaki.
No, you could have stopped Eida. It's just no one had to stop her. Why would they stop Eida? Eida's not their prisoner. She literally just came there to be with Kawaki. Damon wouldn't allow anyone to take her prisoner as well. She can leave and do whatever she pleases. So no, it's not that no one could stop her or no one dared to do it because the jutsu wouldn't allow them. She just left like any normal person would do.
Kawaki, when Kawaki's running out of chakra and trying to hide from the entire Leaf Village, Kawaki says, please, Eida, help me out here. I need your help. You love me, right? Yeah, I love you, Kawaki. I'll do whatever you want. And then they kind of hug each other, and bam! Jutsu's done. That's it. That's it. Well, it turns...
People often do this when they have a big issue with something in comparison to another thing that they think is really good, where they over-explain and overcomplicate the first thing, and then oversimplify to make it sound dull and bad the second thing. So when you compare it based off just their summaries of the both events, one just looks worse by comparison. He just did that exact same thing.
Out, it was very easy to put the entire world under the influence of a powerful jutsu. You didn't have to do much, you just had to be born with the powers of Shiba Otsutsuki, built by this Amato guy, and Kawaki just had to love you, and then you provide your powers to Kawaki, and damn, you're good to go. Can you imagine if we didn't know the Infinite Tsukuyomi beforehand, before it was cast? We just knew a stupid prophecy saying, the Red Moon will take everything away from you. And then when Madara is resurrected, Zetsu clings himself to Madara and says,
I'm not gonna lie, that was funny. I can't even lie, that was just funny. I don't even have a problem with that. It was dumb, but that was funny. The Red Moon will take everything away from you.
please, Madara, I want you to cast the jutsu. You have to put everybody under the influence of this genjutsu that I want you to. And then Madara rises up in the air. He doesn't even look at the moon. He just, bams chakra out. And that's it. The entire world is under the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a jutsu that we just found out exists. It should have been much more difficult for Kawaki to pull that off. They should have at least dedicated an entire arc as to how this jutsu was achieved, because saying, no, yeah, Eida was born with it, Amato just put the jutsu in her when she was being created, is the laziest.
He just said Eida was born with it. Then said someone put it inside of her post-birth. It just don't get more contradictory than that. Which one is it, DygoKnight? Was she born with it? Did he give her the ability? Which one? If it's such dull writing, how can you not comprehend it? Can you not comprehend the dullest of concepts? You are literally just contradicting yourself. for no reason. I'm pretty sure he just goes on a rant for the rest of the video.
Possible explanation.
So,
Because now you're obvious and that lazy, you're right in the way they needed to.
yes,
Shock
yes.
value of seeing Boruto. Writers essentially make her completely immune to anybody else so that only Kawaki and Boruto have any relevance in the story.
Again,
And some
repetition.
people really love this Boruto plot twist, and maybe because of the shock value of seeing Boruto swapping places.
So, repetition for the rest of the video, just like I thought. Again, no particular hate to DygoKnight. There wasn't any of that weird stuff that he typically puts in his Boruto videos, so that's okay. Yeah, this has been a bad video, which I debunked. Goodbye.